Hi guys, welcome back to Believe in Eagles. I'm your host, Leigh Mayock, and this is our regular guest, the one and only, my papa, Mike Mayock. Woo!
Hi, honey. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm noticing your shirt again. This is becoming a theme. Boston College football.
The brotherhood.
The brotherhood. Cool. Unfortunately, though, both the Eagles teams that we care about on this podcast lost this weekend.
Yeah.
And I feel like today's Wednesday? I think myself and the rest of Philadelphia want to get this over with. I want to get your take on the end of the Eagles game, Monday Night Football loss to the Falcons, the collapse at the end of the game. I know you just watched tape again of the game. What are your biggest takeaways?
It's the kind of loss that will haunt Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni and the Eagles for weeks when they think back on it. I mean, I remember with the Raiders with games where you thought you should have won the football game. And I think with right before that 3rd and 5 or whatever, the decision to throw the ball to Barkley that he dropped, I don't know what the odds were for the Eagles to win at that point.
Like analytics-wise, you mean?
Yeah, I would imagine they were way over 90%, right? So there are a lot of people saying, hey, it was a good call. It was an aggressive call. And Saquon Barkley should have caught the football. And you know what? Saquon should have caught the football. But to me, that's not the mistake. The mistake to me is that no matter what else happens, you have to run 40 seconds off that clock. Okay? I mean, you cannot give them a football back at that point. So it's not Saquon dropping it. To me, it's you got to run the football and get 40 seconds off that clock. And if you don't get a first down, you make a decision. You kick the field goal or you go for it on 4th, whatever you want to do. But 40 seconds have to come off that clock. So really at that point, Leigh, your opponent is not Atlanta. It's the clock.
So you think it was the call that was the issue?
I think whoever made the call,
the
head coach or the offensive coordinator, made a huge mistake. And I understand that it was an aggressive call and it should have worked. I get all those things.
Right.
But first and foremost, you have to take 40 seconds off the clock every single time in that situation.
I mean, I think they will going forward.
I mean, I don't know. They're aggressive people, and I like that. I like aggressive, but the priority there has got to be the clock, not the Falcons.
Okay, so then after that, the defense did have kind of an opportunity to bail the Eagles out again, and that didn't happen. Is that part of the problem?
Yeah, I don't think enough has been talked about that, Leigh. And I mean, at that point, they kick a field goal to go up 6. It's 21-15. There's a minute 39 left, and they go 6 plays, 70 yards to score the winning touchdown. And I watched the tape of that drive, and it was really ugly. It was a compilation of bad plays. First and foremost, Leigh, they didn't touch Kirk Cousins. They're not getting close to the quarterback. They can. In either game, they're struggling to generate a pass rush. That's point number one. Vic elected to rush only 4 on 5 of the 6 plays. So you can't get home with 4, yet we're still only rushing 4. That frustrates me.
Why do you think that decision was made?
Well, when you're up 6, the thought process is you got to score a touchdown and it's 70 yards. So we're going to play a little softer. We're going to give you 8, 10, 12 yards, but we're not going to give you the big play. That's the philosophy. The problem is the 2nd and 3rd play of that drive, they targeted Quinyon Mitchell, the rookie corner.
Right.
Okay. And on the first of those 2 plays, he gave up 21 yards, basically in a cover 2 look which means he needed to sink back and help his safety out. And instead he got up tight to the guy in the flat, and the flat guy didn't matter.
Right.
Situational football, that guy didn't matter. And so Blankenship was probably too deep. Mm-hmm. He was too shallow. And there was a hole there that you could have completed the pass. Okay. And your arm's pretty good. You probably
No, I'm not good at throwing. I'm good at catching.
You are good at catching.
Thank you.
You are good at catching.
Thanks. But yeah, that was defeating to watch.
That was 21 yards. And then on the following play, he gave up his leverage. He had a bad I'm talking about Quinyon Mitchell.
Yeah.
Gave up his leverage, had a bad transition, didn't make the tackle, and they pick up 26 yards. So in 2 plays, they go 47 yards, and they picked on the rookie a little bit.
I mean, and then so how do you not do that next time? Like, what could they have done differently?
Well, I think for the rookie, I'm still really bullish on him, and I don't think it's too big for him, and he'll get better.
Me too.
And he'll understand situational football. He won't jump the flat route. He'll sink under, and I think he'll be a little bit more confident with the single high safety look they had with the 17-yard out. So I think he'll be fine. I think the bigger issue is they got to generate a pass rush.
Right.
And the right tackle remember we talked last week, that right tackle from Atlanta had a poor game the week before, Caleb McGarry, and he looked like Superman against the Eagles. And they're not getting a push inside. Jalen Carter's getting a little bit of a push, but Bryce Huff hasn't gotten anywhere near a quarterback. They got to generate a pass rush or things are going to get really tough for them.
Is there anyone on the market that they could get? Like, what are realistically, like, what do they do? Because what if it's none of the guys that they have now?
I haven't even looked at my ready list. I think it's more about getting the guys they have.
The guys you have now, yeah.
Yeah, you paid Bryce Huff. Jalen Carter has got to get home. Josh Sweat has got to get home. People that when they're rushing 4, they're not getting home, and Vic will help them and probably bring some more pressures. But at the end of the day, it's hard to win in the NFL on defense if you can't rush a quarterback.
Yeah, and it was what I talked about. I did like a quick reaction pod that probably no one cares about. But what blew my mind is that like you're under the lights during prime time on Monday Night Football with like Eagles royalty in the building. So it's like a hype situation. And if they don't have a guy on defense like that that's chomping at the bit to make plays defensively, I think it's easier to, when you're hyped up like that on defense, it's easier to make plays like that, I feel. And I didn't see that.
No, I hear you. I think the hype wears off after a little bit, but you're right. There's 70,000 people there, and it's Monday night, national television.
Yeah, so let's put on a show.
Yeah, let's put on. I agree with that. I mean, Nolan Smith hasn't shown up. Huff can't get home. Sweat can't get home, and Jalen Carter's getting double teamed a lot. There's a whole lot of things happening there, and none of it's good.
Oh, great.
And by the way, to your point, they played in Green Bay in Brazil 10 days earlier. They had a 10-day rest. Mm-hmm. We're playing at home on national television with all the people there. You're right. That's a game they should not have lost, and that's so bone crushing.
It's frustrating.
Yes,
yeah.
It is. Yes, it is.
Let's move on to, because I don't want to talk about that anymore. I'm tired of it. Like living in the city in Philly is even different than like living in the suburbs. All I hear is just chat about all the horrible things that happened during the game.
Look, we've lived here our entire lives, and I think 98% of the Philly fans are awesome. They're
are you kidding? They're amazing. They're the best. It's the best fan base for sure.
They're so passionate. They're always there. But let's face it. I mean, quick to criticize, tough.
Well, because it's their family almost.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at Jason Kelce. He will never have to buy a beer again for the rest of his life. And
did you see his dance? Did you see his dance moves?
I did.
Dad, you think you're a good dancer?
Way better than him.
That is a wild accusation to me. Wild, Dad. He was moving.
He's good, and he's lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, no, he's moving. It's the offensive lineman post-retirement glow up is what I call that. They all do it.
Yeah, the smart ones do.
They don't all dance like him though. So
no. Let's face it, the Kelce family's got a little boogie in them, and I give him a ton of credit because he understands the Philly fan. He gets the Philly fan, and he embraced it in that speech when he was bombed after the Super Bowl. Might have been the best speech I ever heard.
It was so good. People here know that by heart.
Yep, it was so good.
Okay, but moving on to your Boston College Eagles real quick. That game was fun to watch too. And they had momentum at the beginning, if I'm remembering correctly. Did you watch the game?
No, I was traveling, and I was getting the updates from all my BC guys. They played the number 6 team in the country, Mizzou, and apparently they competed their tails off. And I think Bill O'Brien, the head coach, is the right guy for the job. And they're playing Michigan State this Saturday night at 8:00, and I'm going to have a house full of my BC teammates. And we're going to have a couple beers in us, and we'll probably be dancing like Kelce. And
I'm sure I'll be getting some texts, some updates about what's going on down there.
Yep.
That'll be so much fun though. Is that the T-shirt for this year that you're wearing?
No, this is an old one, the Brotherhood. I haven't seen the new one. Jeff Jama brings the new one in. I did a little special project because it's our 10-year anniversary for the boys, and I got a little book to give them with pictures and stuff, which will be pretty cool.
If anyone doesn't know what we're talking about, we've literally spent every episode of this podcast talking about it. My dad's Boston College football roommates, teammates, they all get together every summer, every early fall, like 14 or 15 of them, and basically have the time of their lives. And it's the cutest thing I've ever seen. Yeah, usually at the Jersey Shore. And my dad has it this weekend, so he's ready to go. Actually, you're already down the shore. And it's Wednesday.
I'm buying the beer. I'm getting everything ready to go and doing all my work down the shore.
Question: the guy, is it Jeff Jama that was the one that you said he runs all for your group? He runs all the tailgates. Like he does the cooking and all that.
Chief. That's Chief.
Chief. Yeah, so then do you guys take on the roles that you have or lack thereof for your alum tailgates? Do you take them on to your BC weekend in New Jersey?
Well, you got to understand, Chief Greg Cantoni was an offensive tackle for us, and he's like a chef. His parents were great cooks. He buys all the food and drives it down. He won't get in a plane. He's going to drive the food from Boston down to New Jersey. And on Friday night, it's probably my favorite part of the weekend because I put the extra leaf in the kitchen table. And
you know what a leaf is? You know what a table leaf is?
Leigh, I'm 66 years old.
Yeah, but you don't know about stuff like that.
Hell yeah, I do. I raised 2 kids.
Dad.
Yes.
Our fridges were full of condiments, meat, and the walls were bare.
Like I said, I raised 2 kids.
So I'm shocked that you know what a table leaf is. But anyway, okay, go on. I digress.
I get the leaf in. I buy a bunch of good red wine. They got all the booze and the beer and everything like that.
Are you still on that? Are you still on the Camus kick?
No, I mean, I just like good red wine, and that's way too expensive. But at the end of the day, Leigh, the Friday night dinner where we sit around, Chief makes an unbelievable meal. We lie about how good we were. We're gonna toast Danny Conway this year because he passed away, and so I know this is not what you want on your podcast, and I'm sorry.
No, I love it. It's my favorite. It honestly is my favorite weekend for you. We just keep. Well, I'm happy it's here for you.
It is the brotherhood, and these guys and we're so tight, and we know about each other's kids. We know about their grandkids. We know about their jobs and their wives, and it's a really important byproduct of team sports, especially football.
Honestly, do you remember last year when I had like a mini version of that for Marissa's birthday with all my friends, literally at the shore, and it was just a mini version of it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I get it. Like this is what BCOC is like, and it's the best time you can possibly have. All your favorite people in your favorite place, like it's just there's nothing like it.
Like Locke will walk in, and the first thing will happen to Locke is everybody will give him abuse for missing Rob Ricard on a post route when we could have upset Dan Marino and Pitt on national TV. And he's 64 years old. He'll hear it forever. He will hear it, and then I'll hear about getting thrown out of that game. Yeah.
Wait, why?
You didn't know that story.
Why did you get thrown out of that game?
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, Michael saw it years ago because he saw it on the TV copy, with about less than a minute left, I was returning a punt, and we were about to lose to the number one team in the country, University of Pitt and Dan Marino, by a 14-6 score, and we played our asses off. And the punt kind of went off the guy's foot. It didn't come towards me. And the one kid on the Pitt team, I was just standing there watching the ball 20 yards away, and he threw an elbow in my throat, and I turned around and chased him down. And you can literally see on the television screen, I ran off the screen, and then they caught up to us. And I was trying to throw shots, and both benches emptied, and I got thrown out of the game. And
was that the only time you got thrown out of a game?
Yeah. Several of my roommates got thrown out of the game they didn't even get into because they came off the bench.
I respect that, honestly. Wait, you know what? I have a confession. I have a new favorite college football team. Not favorite because Penn State, obviously, but Archibald Manning and the Texas Longhorns. I'm obsessed. Did you see any of that game?
So, yeah, I did. I got a little bit. I saw his highlights. Do you know why he's named Arch?
Yeah, the grandfather. His grandfather. Cooper's dad. Peyton's dad. Eli's dad.
Cooper's dad.
Yeah.
Because Cooper is the father of Arch.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't hear you say Cooper.
Yeah, that's what I started with.
Right. Well, the thing is that a lot of young people, apparently you do realize, but most people have Peyton and Eli on their brains, and they were great quarterbacks, but not great athletes. Right?
That's what everyone was going on. They're like, there's a Manning who can run.
Arch Manning is like his grandfather, Archie, who he's named for, who's one of my favorite people in the world.
Archie could run?
Archie was a freaking athlete. Archie was like 6'3", 215, was usually one of the fastest players on the field, and they used to sing songs in the state of Mississippi about his ability to run the football. And he was the second player drafted, I think the second player in like 1970 or 1971 by the Saints. And unfortunately for him, he got drafted on a bad team, and it was before free agency, so he really couldn't get out. But that's where your Arch, got his athletic ability from his grandfather.
I mean, I was enthralled. I kept the game on just to watch him. And it was funny too. I felt weird or old because I tweeted that he was in a Texas uniform, number 16, and it was their orange color. And I was like, oh my gosh, an orange Manning 16 quarterback takes me back to Peyton at Tennessee, and like no one got it. And I was like, wrong audience? Or I actually looked up, I was like, am I wrong? Was he not 16? Like I was right, but it was cute to watch. And they said that Arch always like texts Peyton for advice and stuff like that. It was cute.
Honey, about when Arch was in high school, like a sophomore, I was getting texts on the sly from his grandfather saying, watch Arch dunk in a high school game. Hey, watch Arch throw these three. Archie was sending me clips of young Arch.
That's
back
so
when
cute.
When he was, and it's kind of they're a cool family, and I spent a lot of years at that Manning Passing Academy, and I think it's cool that here's Arch Manning with all this talent, yet he's not bitching and moaning about not starting, and the family's not bitching and moaning. The starting quarterback, Quinn Ewers, has played a lot of college football, and he's a really good quarterback. And when it's Arch's turn, he'll get his time.
And did you know that he's been he's signed a bunch of NIL stuff, and he gives the money away?
I knew he signed a bunch of NIL stuff. I don't know what he does.
He's been giving a lot of money away or stuff away, whatever. But it's refreshing to see, and it was really fun to watch him.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
Okay. Back to the NFL. Every team that I thought was going to win this weekend lost.
Me too.
Good thing that we don't really bet that much.
I don't bet at all. Thank God.
I've tried it a couple of times and didn't go.
No.
But did you catch any of the games? Like I was saying how Philly fans were like riding high after Sunday because it was the 49ers lost to the Vikings, and then the Saints like beat the brakes off the Cowboys. So it was a roller coaster. But did you watch those games?
By the way, how's your Bitcoin investment going? Pretty good? Speaking of Arch Manning and all that money?
Dogecoin to the moon.
Oh my God.
You guys, I made like a horrible decision. My dad was telling me I should be investing more. And this was back when Bitcoin was like popping off. And I didn't know anything about that stuff. And I was like, yeah, like I'm going to look into it and I'm going to try. And I'm going to make good investments. And my dad was like, oh, great. Because I was like, usually he tells me that stuff and I'm like, I don't care. And I was like, no, I'm going to do it. So I thought when he was talking about investments that he was talking about Bitcoin. He was talking about like stocks. Is that what you would call it?
I mean, I'd like if you would just save a penny or two, put it away somewhere.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
I'm going to get an NIL deal.
Like you're not a sophomore at Penn State anymore. It'd be good to put some money.
No, what is this?
What? This is your podcast.
Are you good? Do you want to sponsor the pod, bro? Like, what's happening? Okay, anyway.
Is that English? Do you want to sponsor the pod, bro? Somebody shoot me.
Okay, you're honestly, you know what this is? It's because your friends are coming and you're about to be, because you're like a bully. So you're getting in your bully mode. And that's what this is. Okay, anywho. Also, I have full editing control, so I can just edit anything out and make you sound like a fool.
Good luck.
Okay, Brad, for once, can we get back to the football? Jeez.
Oh, okay, if you want.
Okay. No, I forget. Oh, yeah.
Upsets.
Yeah, the Vikings beat the Niners. Yeah. That blew my mind. Oh, also, how about the Raiders beating the Ravens? And I have the Ravens going to the Super Bowl against the Eagles.
Yeah. The Ravens need to get their offensive line going. They've got 3 new starters there, and that's a problem. Max Crosby played like Superman, like he does every week, apparently.
As usual.
Oh, my gosh. He dominated the football game.
That's all I could think about when no one was rushing the passer on Monday night. I was like, we need Max. We need a Max Crosby.
You know, and the rookie tight end, Bowers, is coming.
Oh, yeah, Brock.
They got the ball to him and Devontae Adams and give Gardner Minshew some credit for that. But I give the Raiders a ton of credit for coming back and winning a game they probably shouldn't have.
Right.
Give Minnesota credit. I mean, Kevin O'Donnell's done a great job there, resurrecting Sam Darnold's career. And the person that people don't talk about is the defensive coordinator, Brian Flores. And he's got a different looking defensive package that I love. He's either coming after you hard with all kinds of exotic looks, or he's kind of dropping back in the zone. And San Francisco struggled with it. And then, you know, Derek Carr.
Did you just bring up Brian Flores because he went to Boston College? I
had no idea you would know that, so I just didn't even go there. And B-Flow.
I see what you're doing. You are trying to turn this into a Believe in BC Eagles podcast. I see what you're doing.
Not at all. Brian Flores can play. Maybe you want to talk about John Johnson next, the safety over in, because he's a BC guy. But Chris Lindstrom, the guard from the Falcons.
Okay, all right, we get it.
I'm just kidding you. The upset thing was crazy. Minnesota has been the talk of the league, along with New Orleans. And the New Orleans conversation is amazing. I mean, I watched some of their tape from last week. It's really, really good.
Okay, so what is it? Why are they good now? And you're not supposed to ask people 2 questions at once, but I'm going to. Why are they so good right now? What is clicking? And then also, like, you were with Derek Carr for 3 years. Why do you think that he's like in the zone again?
So, a couple things here. New offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's putting their offense in position, putting Derek Carr in a position, which I thought John Gruden and our guys did really well was to put Derek in a position to win. Okay. What do I mean by that? Their running back, Alvin Kamara, is as good as any running back in football. He's special. First time I saw him run the ball, Tennessee, I went, wow, this dude is special. And he's special because he can beat you on the run, he can beat you on the ground or in the air. And I think they're doing a great job of utilizing him. Like last week, he had over 100 yards rushing, and he had a 59-yard touchdown reception off a little peekaboo screen. Like, they're using him so well, number one. Number two, they have 4 offensive linemen that were drafted in the first round, and they're healthy and playing well. Kubiak's using a fullback, multiple tight ends, including Foster Moreau that we know from our Raiders days.
Foster Moreau, yeah. Raiders days.
Yeah, and what they're doing is they're protecting Derek 2 ways. 1, through the run game, and 2, through play action and max protection. And, for instance, Derek threw a 70-yard dime last week to Rashid Shaheed on a play action, max protect. They blocked Micah Parsons with all kinds of creative looks. Not just saying to, hey, our right tackle or left tackle, you got to – no. They had running backs, tight ends, tackles, pulling guards. They got all over Micah Parsons. And when Derek Carr is comfortable, he can sling it as good as anybody.
I have to say, it is nice to see him be in that position. Not this weekend. I don't hope that for him. But just since we are with him for that, like for a chunk of time, you know what he's capable of. It's like he's the – I give him props for just continuing on no matter what. Like, and he really puts in the time and he puts in the work. And so for me, I don't know about you, but it's nice for me to see him in a position where he is set up to do well. Then he's able to execute. Look,
Derek is a great guy. And year 1 in New Orleans, he had some struggles.
Yeah.
And he was hurt. There were a bunch of injuries, offensive line, etc. And it was a tough look for him. I did one of their games. It was as good as they are this year offensively, it was as much a struggle last year. It was really a tough struggle for them last year.
I remember he got beat up a bunch.
Got beat up a ton, got hit a ton.
Yeah.
And now, they look like the best. They've scored over 40 points in 2 games. They ran Dallas out of their own house. It's fun when Derek is comfortable and not getting beat up in the pocket. He's as good a natural thrower of the football as anybody.
Yeah, it worries me for this weekend.
Yeah, should.
So, I mean, okay, so like looking ahead.
Yeah.
Saints Eagles in New Orleans.
Yep.
Also the Super Bowl site this year.
Yep.
Just coming off of what we did wrong, what the Eagles did wrong on Monday night. What are the keys to this game in terms of? Let's start with offense.
Let's start with the Saints offense because we were just talking about them. Okay, because that's where my head is right now. That Saints offense. And number one, you got to stop or slow down Alvin Kamara.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean just run. And let's face it, the Eagles' run defense has been porous. Okay, so you got to slow down the run with Alvin Kamara, but you also got to watch him in the pass game. And I'm not sure the Eagles linebackers can hang with him in any kind of man-to-man situations at all. He's hard to match up with. So number one, stop or slow down number 41 because the Saints offense goes through him. Mm-hmm. Number two, you got to negate big plays. And again, the Eagles defense gave up a bunch of big plays to Green Bay. And then last week they gave up a 41-yard touchdown pass. They got to stop giving up the chunk plays, especially with Derek Carr off play action, because you got to make Derek Carr beat you in the red zone. You can't let him throw 30, 40, 50, 70-yard touchdown passes. If Derek Carr is going to beat you, it's got to be in the red zone.
Okay.
And then lastly, with Derek himself, you got to make him uncomfortable in the pocket. You got to hit him. You got to harass him. You got to make him think he's going to get hit pre-snap, every snap.
Do you, off the top of your head, and if you don't, I get it, but off the top of your head, can you remember a Raiders game when you were there that the defense exploited him like perfectly? something the Eagles should mimic.
The defense exploited Derek, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, specific games, I mean, Kansas City got to him a couple times. It was mostly less about Derek and more about pass protection breakdowns and an inability to run the football.
Okay.
When it had to be, Derek had to drop back and throw the ball every snap and probably was going to get hit. That's tough for any quarterback. I remember watching Matt Ryan and feeling bad for him early in his career and some things. So really off the top of my head, I can't remember one specific game, but I can tell you that you got to get him feeling uncomfortable in that pocket, because when he feels good and when there's plenty of room in that pocket, he can step up and step. He's really, really good. So then
the Saints defense, we are fans of Joe Woods, their defensive coordinator. What are we looking at in terms of Eagles offense, Saints defense?
Yeah, they've done a nice job taking the ball away. I think they've got 4 interceptions in 2 games. They've got 15 or 16 passes defensed in 2 games. Part of that is because their front 7 is so good. So they're stopping the run, and the Eagles need to be able to run the football. People are giving Barkley crap about the drop, but I think he's played really well.
Yeah,
really,
one drop doesn't mean anything. Yeah.
No. And again, I mean, he had 26 touches for close to 120 yards the other night. I think he's playing really well, and I think it's going to be harder to run the football against them. Now, the wild card is Jalen Hurts running the ball, and he ran the ball a bunch the other day, more so than I think you want him running the ball, like 13 times for 85, whatever it was. That helped them. What should have been a win was his ability to run both planned runs and spontaneous runs.
Yeah.
Were kind of the key to their offense. They got to do them offensively. They got to do a better job of running the football without the quarterback, number one. I don't know the status of A.J. Brown. He's told Lisa Salters he probably was going to be out a quote couple of weeks. That's a big deal. That's a big difference, because you start double teaming Devontae Smith, and now what? So, you know, I think their best corner didn't play last week, Marshawn Lattimore. I don't know what his status is this week, but they've got to protect. They got to protect the quarterback. They got to get the ball out of his hands. This is going to be a little different defense than they've seen, and I think it'll be harder to run the football. And again, I think they got to spread the ball around. They get Dallas Goedert involved a little bit more in the pass offense. We haven't seen much of your Penn State guy, 83, the former first-round pick from Jahan Dotson.
From the Commanders?
Yeah. So
I thought we were going to see a lot of him on Monday night, and then we didn't.
But the front 4 is different for this team. They're big, long, strong guys with Cam Jordan, who can play inside out. They got 2 linebackers that can run, Pete Warner from Ohio State, and they're a different challenge this week.
Who's their fullback, you said?
46. I forget his name.
I love fullbacks. I just think that offenses need to bring back the fullback.
Well, and what's cool with their offense, hon, is the fullback comes in, they move him around. They have number 7, the former quarterback who plays tight end, running back, fullback, plays quarterback sometimes because he was a college quarterback. And we talked about that offensive coordinator, Kubiak. He does a great job with the personnel. He'll take their wideout, Rashid Shaheed, and move him to tailback. He'll take the tailback, Kamara, move him out wide and run normal routes with him. I mean, they do a bunch of creative things that cause problems for a defense.
Sounds like a challenge.
Yep. And it's going to be, it's going to be fun, hon, is watching them come back off a brutal loss and see how they react on the road against the undefeated.
And you've said this the whole preseason and the start of the season. It's how they react when things don't go their way.
Yep.
I don't know. I thought at least after their loss on Monday night, everyone I saw was like taking accountability. They weren't passing blame. So I was like, okay, that's a good start.
No, it is. And again, it's a gut punch when you lose one of those games. And now they got to come back on a short week on the road. And again, people don't understand how hard that is. You were at home on a Monday night, and now you got a short week, and you got to go on the road to New Orleans against a really good team after you just took a gut shot. I think we're going to find out a little bit about this Eagles team this week.
Yeah, I hope it's good news.
And I'm not going to pick a score. I have no idea what's going to happen. I'm just being honest.
Okay, I don't need
you pick. You go ahead and pick.
No, because I'm a little worried right now, so I don't want to.
Okay.
But wait, the only other thing I wanted to ask you was, because I have a strong stance on this, and it's pretty much just based on my feelings. But I wanted to ask you, based on like situational football and facts and front office stuff, Bryce Young, benching him after week 2 of this season. What is your stance on that?
Oh, boy. I think organizationally, I think they failed him, number one. I don't know how much talent is truly around him. Last year was really hard to watch. Okay. And they make him, they fire his coach early in the season, who was supposed to be a quarterback guru, who was a very good football coach. Then they bring in new coaches this year, who's Dave Canales, who's done a great job with quarterbacks in his past. And the first 2 weeks, it looks not much better than last year, right? I think they did what they had to do. So really? if I put my GM hat on right now, here's what I would tell you. You can lose a locker room when everybody in the locker room is going, we watched the film, and this guy's not going to help us win any games. Why aren't we going with Andy Dalton, the vet, right? So there's a delicate dance here. You can lose a locker room for a period of time, but with the GM hat, I'm going, yeah, but what's the big picture? That was the number 1 overall pick a little over a year ago. What are our plans going forward? Is he going to be our guy or not? And at what point do we have a big enough sample size that we can make that decision? So I'm okay with this as long as at a certain point he comes back in and becomes the starting quarterback so that we can evaluate him the rest of the year. But right now, doesn't look any better than last year. And I think I'm guessing he needs to take a step back, look at it from a perspective of what's Andy Dalton seeing, how does the offense run, how can he be a better quarterback, and hopefully bring him back a little bit later and give him an opportunity to win that job again. Because if he can't win the job, you're probably going to, you're going to go into next season and pick a quarterback again with the first overall pick.
Shedeur Sanders?
Who knows?
Maybe. I'm drafting Archibald Manning it whenever he comes out.
I kind of figured that, huh?